Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint this very simple bridge with some autumn trees. We'll be using acrylic paints, and I'll show you step by step how to do it all the way through. It should be a fairly easy beginner project, I think. I've got my husband Mark with me today.
Hey there, everybody.
He is going to be manning chat for us, so let's get started. Okay, so this is my example painting. I started out doing it kind of more in my traditional style with my Deerfoot Stippler and kind of stippling on the trees and making them look a little bit more realistic. And then I got carried away with my with my small brush here and started making dots, and it was actually really fun. And so I thought I just went with it. So I kind of changed it up halfway through. So I'll show you both ways, and you can decide for yourself which one you want to do. But I kind of like this kind of looser, more painterly style for this one. Just kind of fun for something different. So
I can't believe you got carried away doing something like that.
Just
like the last video with the flowers.
Well, yeah, it happens. It does. All right, let me go over our palette here real quick with you. Are you not ready? There we go. Okay, so I've got titanium white, unbleached titanium, yellow oxide, burnt sienna, burnt umber, quinacridone magenta, cadmium red medium, cadmium red light, cadmium orange, cadmium yellow medium, phthalo green yellow shade, phthalo blue green shade, and dioxazine purple. So you can mix and match whatever colors you happen to have in your palette that are close to these. Doesn't have to be the exact same one as I'm using, but something similar will probably work. And we're going to be using just kind of a variety of brushes, a large flat brush to start out with, and then maybe a couple of the shorter bright brushes to do some of these brush strokes with, and then possibly, I don't know if we're going to use any of these. We'll probably use a small round to do some of the tree branches, and then the rest of them if we feel like it. So.
Okay, somebody's already asked, what kind of notebook are you using there?
This is the Strathmore Visual Journal Mixed Media. So it's not the regular mixed media pads, it's the Visual Journal pads. It's got a dark brown cover, nice hard cover. And this is the 9 by 12 inch size, but I have all three sizes. I like them all. They all kind of work. But this one is the size of my canvas, so it works out perfectly. I can do my example and then go straight onto my board. Although I found that this size was hard to find frames for when I went to frame them. So you might go up just a size, like 11 by 14 or something like that. This is 9 by 12. 11 by 14 is a much more common size, and it will work similarly. You can upscale your drawing. I'm going to set this aside, and let's draw this out really quick. I'm going to grab some chalk here to draw it. You can use a water-soluble pencil, whatever you happen to have. And let me see where I did it here. I think I did it right about the quarter mark. It kind of hits this right on the third right here. The bridge, kind of the hole right here, kind of hits right on the third. So we went just below the third. Sorry, was that loud?
No.
Okay, so right about here, I say. So split it and then split it again. And then we'll do our water line. And this is really kind of the upper water line. So we only have to go about halfway with it. And then there's another water line that comes down about a ½ inch or so out that way, like that. And then this bush ends right about, I would say, trying to measure it on my thing. So that one's right about the third. So if we split it into thirds, this bush kind of comes up right here and covers that section there. And then our rock comes in like this and kind of covers this area. There's a large bush right here. This is going to cover that section. And then there's a large tree up here, a smaller tree here, and then our bridge is going to fit right in this area. So we're going to do a nice big arch all the way down into that. And try to kind of get it even if you can. Right like that. And then there's another, you're seeing the inside of it a little bit. So you're going to come in about 1.5 inches to 2 inches and just kind of curve it up like that. And try to match that curve as best you can. So just kind of try to match that curve and bring it up to hide right there. And then we'll do the top part. And it's kind of flat on the top a little bit. And then it angles down like that. And actually it's kind of comes out a little bit wider, so it widens out a little bit on either side. And this kind of comes down here. We've got a tree that's going to be in there, but we want to get that in, so we'll go ahead and put that part of the bridge in all the way down to about right there. And then we'll pretend this bush is not here yet. We'll put that on top. So we want the stuff underneath first, but I drew it in so that I'd kind of have my placement figured out. And then same thing on this side. Going to come out like this, and it's going to come down like that. All right. Easy peasy. Not too bad.
Sure.
You can do it, right? Ooh, super chat.
Yes, we got some super chat from Johanna.
Thank you, Johanna.
And she said, heart, heart, heart. Well,
Awesome.
actually, the emojis for hearts.
Very
Thank you so
nice.
much,
Thank
there,
you,
Johanna. And for everybody who's wondering, let me turn off the disco lights here. Hold on a second. The nail polish, it's already been asked.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's called Pocket Aces
Pocket Aces, yeah.
by Revlon. Color Stay Gel Envy.
Woohoo.
Whatever Gel Envy is, but it is what it is.
Revlon. It's the only kind that stays for more than a few hours on my fingernails. I gotta have the gel stuff because it's a little stronger. Okay, so that's our basic thing. I kind of started our tree over here. It's gonna kind of tuck behind this section here, and then there's gonna be the two trees here. So we'll kind of do the background very generic at first, and then we'll add more detail to it as we work. So let's grab some of the white. Bring it over here. I've got my large brush. I wet it down first. So just dip it in the water and kind of wring it off the side of the glass or whatever jar you're using for your water. And I'm going to grab a little bit of this phthalo blue and maybe a little bit of the yellow oxide just to tone it down just slightly. And I'm just dipping the little corner of my brush in there, pulling from the side to pick up a little bit of paint. That looks good. We're just going to paint this in back here very quickly. Most of this is going to get covered up, so this is just kind of our area that's going to be barely peeking through some of these trees, but we got to start with something, right? So we'll throw that down on there. And if I get over in this corner, I'm going to maybe pick a little bit of purple up and put some purple in back here. This tree's going to be red, so it'll be pretty against that red tree. And I'm just kind of changing up my brush strokes, doing kind of little dabbing brush strokes so I get some interesting patterns happening there. And right like that. I think I covered up my bridge. I don't know. Oops. I got a little happy with the purple there. Okay, let me get my towel. While it's wet, you can just wipe it right off. It's good to show you because that'll happen. So kind of go across there like that. And that, I don't know how I did that. I went right over my lines there. There we go. It's a pretty color, lavender. Let's put some of that under here too.
Hey, I want to thanks everybody for joining us today for this live show.
Yes.
We do this every Saturday.
We do.
Well, almost every Saturday.
We've only missed one, I think, this year.
This year, yeah. And on Tuesday evenings.
Yes.
You can hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can get notifications. You can give a thumbs up to the painting.
Yes, please.
Links to all of Angela's social media down below. Facebook, 2 groups for that, right?
Yes. Yes, 2 different Facebook groups and my fine art page on Facebook too. So I don't interact with the fine art page as much as I do my Facebook groups though. So if you want to share your painting with me, the best place to go is Thankful Art. That's the one I'm most active on.
Yeah, there was like 8,000 plus people in there now, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great group. The people are really nice. The first rule is to be kind, so there's no critiquing of work. So you can share without any worries of anybody, you know, saying, oh, well, you should have used more whatever, or you didn't do this right or that right. You know, that's kind of some art groups, I think, the goal is to kind of make sure that everybody knows how important you are or how good you are at art, you know, how much better you are at art than other people. The art group is all about encouraging one another in whatever part that you are at in your art journey. So we're all kind of have to start somewhere. So I don't want any just, you know, there's no critiquing unless you ask for it. And then when you ask for it, then people are very kind and gracious and give good advice in a supportive and encouraging way. So that's my whole deal. I don't want anybody to feel like they can't share their art just because they're kind of embarrassed because it's not perfect, you know, quote unquote, because all art is valid at every stage. Done with my soapbox.
That's right.
that's my philosophy.
And people always ask if there will be traceables available. And they are.
They're available on my Patreon page. Okay, so I added, if you were kind of watching the palette cam while I was talking there, I added a little bit more of the yellow green on this side, a little bit more of the yellow oxide. Basically, I just kind of mixed and matched just to give it a little bit of variety. You can kind of see they're all kind of mixed up together in there. Phthalo blue, phthalo green, yellow oxide, white, and a little bit of purple over here. So those are kind of the main colors, and I kind of kept it sort of medium value. It's not too light, not too dark to start with.
Okay, but a long time ago, I missed a question. So Clarine wants to know, what brand of brushes are you using?
These are Princeton Summit 6100 series. I really like them. I think they're either a white nylon or white Taclon, or that might be their own fiber, but they're soft, but they've got a good snap to them. They really hold their shape well, and they're pretty durable. I've been using this set for quite a while now, and they wash up really well, and if you take good care of them, they should last a long time. I got these brushes, when did we start with the brush, guys? I don't remember. But I've had these brushes for several months now. We've used them for multiple paintings, and they do discolor a little bit, but they really do well. They've held up really well. I've been very happy with them. This one is a Zen, Royal Langnickel Zen brush, and it's a little bit cheaper brand, but they do really well too. Links to all of that stuff is down in the description of the video, and you can get a discount from the brush guys if you use my discount code, which is Angela Fine Art, with them. So let's start on the bridge. We'll grab some burnt umber and some purple. We'll use that in our darkest area right in here, and I switched to my angle brush just so I can kind of get tucked up in that corner there. Angle brush is really nice for fitting into little small sections, filling in detail. So I don't remember what I was saying. I remember saying something before, but I was going to come back to it, but I don't remember what it was now. Oh, the Patreon thing. So yeah, we've got our traceables on Patreon, and I also have bonus content and all kinds of stuff. We do a bonus video every month for patrons, and different levels get their own Facebook group and that kind of thing, with bonus tutorials and things.
And behind the scene pictures and things like that.
Yeah, I did a 2-hour a 2-hour video yesterday in the group there on Facebook that was just me painting something that I was working on for something else. So for an upcoming project. So
Mary would like to know, do you prefer firm or medium brushes?
I kind of prefer medium, I guess. The super firm brushes don't hold a good point for me oftentimes, so they can't do some of the fine detail that I like to do. But I don't like soft brushes at all. Like they definitely have to have some firmness to them. So, but not the uber firm, because if they're too firm, they just won't come together for a good point. All right, let me switch to my bright now. I'm just switching brushes all over the place. And I'm going to grab the burnt umber, and I'm going to add some phthalo blue to it. And that'll make kind of a blue-gray color. And we're going to use that on our bridge for the background. It's kind of almost a green. It really is a green. We can add a little bit more blue if we want it to be more of a blue. We can also add a little bit of purple if we want to make it more of a, that's the color I want right there. If you add purple to phthalo blue green shade, it'll make a blue that's almost like ultramarine blue, and ultramarine blue plus burnt umber is one of my favorite grays. So this is kind of that color. We're just making it ourselves. I really could have put ultramarine blue on our supply list, but we really don't need it. We can just mix it ourselves here today. There we go. So I'm putting it fairly dark on here. It's almost the same color. In fact, I think I want to add just the tiniest bit of white, just to kind of make it a little softer. There we go. This is one of those paintings that's going to take several layers before it starts to look like anything that we want to keep. So you just have to kind of go with the process here. It's not going to look great at first. Just laying the foundations for our future layers. Using that edge of my brush really helps me get a straight line too. So if you're struggling with straight lines, use that line that way instead of trying to pull this way. It's harder to get a straight line when you're pulling like that than if you're using that edge, because you've already got like that much that's going to be straight, right? Because it's the brush edge, so it just kind of gives you a head start on getting a straight line if you use that brush edge. And you can even just kind of pull right from the edge all the way in instead of sliding it if you want to. You can just go like this all the way across. I put this bridge a little bit farther.
Well, that sounded kind of sad at the end. I grabbed the side of it. But thanks to Clarine.
Thank you
for her donation.
Awesome.
We appreciate it.
Yes, very much. That was sweet. So we have a special T-shirt giveaway going on right now. If you are in my Thankful Art group, you want to on Facebook, you can check that out. We just posted it today. We're going to be giving away some T-shirts this month, at the end of the month. So we're collecting email addresses since we've got our new email thing going out. So if you want to get on that list and get a chance to win a T-shirt, you can look for that link in my Thankful Art group on Facebook. Let me see. Yeah.
Mary would like you to... Oh, no, not Mary. Somebody. Hold on, almost. See, I try to be fancy and put people's names out there. So
Okay.
Dorothy Cat.
That was not even close
Yeah,
to Mary.
Not even close to Mary. Doesn't even look the same.
Not in any way.
No. They both have Y's in them.
Okay, well maybe that's what
close.
it was.
So anyway. So Dorothy Cat would like you to explain how do you store your paints with the styrofoam plates?
I
method.
use...
I can
Yeah,
I
I
can
don't
get
know
if
if
I
I've
need
got
to.
one already saved back there. I think I
Okay.
might. All right, I'm just kind of evening this out because it was a little bit, I kind of lost that wideness right there, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. I want to widen that out right there a little bit, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull it out. We're just going to pretend that it goes all the way to the end there. This is an actual bridge in Central Park, but I'm sorry to the New Yorkers who know better, because this is not going to be a faithful rendering of it. I already photoshopped some of the trees in different places in the photograph that I had, so I changed the composition of the bridge and the trees. So it's close to, I think it was, I can't remember, I told Mark earlier, did you write it down, what the bridge name
And
was?
of course I didn't.
Okay, well, then
So it's all right.
it starts with a G
Yeah.
in Central Park.
Yeah. The Golden Gate Bridge.
No, it's not that.
Not the Golden Gate
Not
Bridge.
even close. No.
That starts with the G.
Yeah, it does, but it's wrong city.
Oh, okay. Well, so back to the person's question.
Mm-hmm.
So you take 2 styrofoam plates.
Yeah, I just have a Glad or Ziploc baggie and a gallon size bag, and the little styrofoam plates fit perfectly inside. So I put my paint down on the styrofoam plate, and then I put another plate on top. Spray it and put it in the bag.
Spray with water.
Yep. I needed to use my hand motions there
Right.
to make sure you
Yeah.
knew how to do that.
When you show them how you spray water.
Did I spray it? Did I
There
do
you go.
that?
There you go.
Uh-huh.
Now every language knows how to do that.
We're covered. Oh, goodness. Wow, we got a
Man,
super
yeah.
chat day. That's awesome.
Yeah. You're not going to get any painting done today.
That's all right. That's all right.
This is from Joanne, and thank you for your donation. And she asked the question, have you ever painted in oils?
No, I have not. It's a good question. I have never painted in oils ever. And, the reason was economic, really. I mean, I had acrylics in college that I went out and bought a set, and that's what I learned from, and I never really looked back after that. I just kind of went with it and stayed, and we did not have the money to go out and buy new, really expensive paint, so I used the craft paint for a very long time.
Yeah, in fact, your earlier videos
Yeah.
you used those paints.
So, didn't start using the heavy body acrylics until about 2005 or something like that. So it's only been in the last 12 years or so that I've started with the thicker paints. So I learned on that. You just kind of do what you got to do. We just didn't have the money to buy, real expensive oil paints or anything. I'm sure they have cheaper oil sets. I just didn't look into it, and I had babies, so
We tried motor.
I didn't want oil chemicals and stuff around the
True.
boys too when they were little.
We tried motor oil.
We- Okay. I should explain what I'm doing here. All right, so I added yellow oxide to the unbleached titanium, added a little tiny bit of the green, and then I'm adding a little bit of the brown here. And I'm just going to kind of create some what is this, foliage or whatever that's underneath the bridge here. I'll get some lighter color, do some of that.
So Chad
I
has
still have
jumped
that
in.
purple. What?
Chad has jumped in and has helped us out. So there's the Capstow Bridge.
Gaps. Thank you. Yes, that's the one. Capstow Bridge.
Bunch of know-it-alls in chat.
They're
Making me look bad.
making you look bad. Yeah.
It's okay.
Hey. Maybe one day we'll get to see it ourselves. All right, I am going to grab some of this green here, just some phthalo green, and I'm going to kind of create some sort of sideways-ish brush strokes in there too, just to kind of, I'm not going to get real technical back in here, but you can if if you want to, if you feel like the need to define that area really well. I just kind of putting in a few little random brush strokes there. Okay, there we go. And then up in here, I'm going to grab some of those colors and start putting in some tree colors. And I've got this number 4 bright. And I'm just going to dot, dot, turn it, maybe do some sideways, do some in different directions, just kind of trying to keep it fairly random. And really, don't worry about your bridge being there. We can fix that. I probably should have done that background first before I put my bridge in, but let me grab a little bit of burnt sienna and mix that with my phthalo green. Do some darker. And I'm going to kind of create some light and dark areas just to kind of give it some depth, I guess. So let's do some of that down here. There we go. Go right up to that bridge. Don't shy away from that, because we we don't want it to look like it's got a halo around it. You know. Okay. Just a few little random ones there. And then let's grab some blue. Phthalo blue. Mix that with that green. That'll make a pretty turquoise, and we'll add some of that. This is also going to be our watercolor. Or water, not watercolor, but water, the color we'll use in our water. So it's always good to kind of unify your painting by adding some of the color that's going to be down in, the lower areas up top, and, having colors in multiple places. Let's go ahead and start putting that in, the water in. So I'm going to do this side to side and just kind of fill it in side to side. Rub it in and let the brush create some natural looking lines there. If I keep it horizontal, then any lines that are created will just kind of make it look like we meant to do that, and that'll be part of our water. I'm going to go ahead and go right up back there.
Okay, good.
Side to side.
Got a question.
Add a little bit more phthalo blue and a little bit more of our burnt sienna. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Willie wants to know that in the painting that you're doing, and your reference painting,
yes,
you notice that there's the green leaves that you put under the bridge that you're doing now are not present in the other painting. Right. Is there a reason for that, or is it just that you're changing up the style? I'm
changing it up. I didn't like that it was after I looked at it, I didn't like that the color here was so dark compared to that. I felt like it didn't pop out enough, that it, like from far away, it kind of blended in too much. So I wanted to make a little bit more contrast in this area, so I was going with the lighter greens. And I'll probably put some small bushes down here eventually, maybe with some of that purple, but I wanted a little bit more contrast. Yeah, these values right here are almost the same. Like if you looked at it in black and white, these colors are too blendy. They're too close to each other. I wanted this bridge to pop out a little bit more. So that's why. Good question. Yeah, a lot of times the example painting is where I work out my design, So a lot of times I'll go and change things up when I do my original, unless I've painted something before, it's not a science. You kind of just have to work it out with the paintings. You just, and unless I've painted it multiple times and I know exactly how I want to do it and what colors to use where and all that kind of thing, most of the time paintings are just kind of, I think I know what I want to do with it, and we're going to hope for the best when we, we do the example. I mean, yesterday I was painting and I changed my design halfway through and covered over half of what I had already done, and but that's normal with the design process. For me, I don't design it all completed in my head before I work. I work out my designs on the canvas usually, so that's just. But if I've done the example for you guys ahead of time, then hopefully when I teach it, I can do a better job of explaining what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen that because in some of the art museums we've gone to, they'll have the finished painting of even the masters like a Van Gogh or Renoir, and next to him sometimes they'll have the sketches and pre-paintings that they did. Because
sometimes you can see the X-ray
of
what's underneath where they've changed it. Yeah.
Right, and they were working it out themselves.
Yeah,
they were trying different techniques and things before. So very rarely does an artist just throw something on a palette and it's done the first time.
Right. Yeah, it's not really realistic.
A canvas, I guess. See, I don't get my art terms. God, I was sounding so impressive.
You were sounding really smart there for a while.
Like I knew what I was talking about.
I know. It was good.
Almost.
No, but you did. You do know what you're talking about. You're right. You're 100%
but
right.
I got palette and canvas mixed up.
I know. It's all right. That's okay. Our son doesn't know how to spell Las Vegas. So sorry to those who got the email yesterday.
For Los Vegas?
Los Vegas. That is my 16. No, he's not even 16 yet. He's 15. He's helping. We've hired him to be my email guy, and that was his first time around. And
he takes after his father.
I realize that I'm going to have to be much more hands-on with the supervising of the spelling. So I did read it. I just didn't catch it either. So it's partly my fault. Okay, so I'm going to grab a little bit of that turquoise color that we used in the water, and I'm going to add a little bit of the burnt umber to it. I used burnt umber over here, by the way, if I was talking, well, doing a lot of talking, not explaining very much here today. Trying to remember to actually explain what I'm doing here for you. And then let's put some down here. There's another rock right here. And all of that's going to be covered up by that purple bush, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I think I do want to put my water in there, so I'm going to clean that out and grab some of that watercolor and just pull it all the way back there, both sides. There we go. All right, now we got it all covered. And if you notice, it's really important to have these horizontal planes. I mean, it can be angled, but for our purposes, we're really trying to keep this line and this line and this line all kind of parallel, and that will help create levels of depth in the painting, and that's it. I'm going to grab our dark purple color, that's our bridge color, and I'm going to go right along that shoreline and add some of that dark color. Right along this far shoreline. There, I'm just going to tap it in. And tap it in on the water too. And then I'm going to use that color in our water, and we're going to see the underside of the bridge some, so it's going to angle this way. I'm going to do kind of lines, and it's not going to be the same shape down here. It's going to be actually almost like a solid dark, because that underside of the bridge is what is being reflected in that water, if that makes sense. So it's not like a mirror image. There we go. Oops, try to keep those horizontal. And then let's do some nice and dark over here. Grab that dark purple. So this area, all of this from the bridge over and then to the water should all be kind of almost the same value. It should be almost the same amount of darkness, so that you can't really tell where one stops and the other starts. That'll help our illusion of depth. Okay.
Marty would like to know, how many stickmens is this painting?
Out of how many? 5 out of 4? What?
Well, we usually go from little of stickman to Van Gogh. Van Gogh being the easiest. No.
It's like, what? It took me a second. I was like, really? Sorry. Oh my gosh. You're a mess.
Okay, so one stickman being the easiest, and say, and 5 being the hardest.
I would say this is a 2 or 3, something like that. It's not going to be super difficult, I don't think. You know, it's just a lot of little brush strokes and stuff. The water is probably the trickiest part, maybe. But the trees are super easy. And the bridge itself is, as long as you can kind of control your brush strokes and kind of get that basic shape in, then that part's pretty easy too. So, I always think things are easier than other, people do. So I don't know. I'm probably not the best judge of it.
Okay, so on a beginner level,
I've added burnt sienna and quinacridone magenta here. I'm going to add some of that color up here. What?
I would probably agree with you. If I was to try this, I would say it would probably be at a 2.5 to 3.
Yeah,
probably closer
like
to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because the bushes and stuff seem easy. The bridge might be the hardest thing to get it from my perspective.
Yeah, so not particularly super difficult, but not entirely easy. Just because we're going to be doing a few different techniques here, so let's add both of that color over here too. Just gives a little bit of red to the background over there, and then clean that out. I'm really liking this brush, so I'm just going to keeping on with it for now. We might switch to a smaller one eventually, but let's go ahead and keep on working on this tree here. So I'm going to grab some white, some yellow, and some phthalo green. Just a little bit. We're going to make a really bright, springy green, like apple green. And grab a little white so we get a really light version of it too. So we've got a couple different versions here. I've got a version that's got a little bit more green, or a little more green and a little more yellow, and then a little bit more of the light. So we'll start with the light one, and we'll put in a few little leaves. And I can kind of use the edge of my brush and just smush to create some interesting shapes. You don't have to do it flat like this. I think the less you worry about each individual brush stroke, the better. Just kind of get into it, enjoy the process. Don't let it stress you out too much. Painting should be fun, so it doesn't have to look exactly like mine. Just kind of get it, I'm showing you kind of how I do it, but yours doesn't have to be the same. It can be your own version of it. Okay, grab some of that medium green color. We'll put some of that in. And I'm going to go kind of around the dark areas, not completely on top of them, so that they'll give it a little depth, maybe. So kind of find those empty spots around. Maybe put a few random ones out there. Let's grab some of that yellow one. And then let's mix these with the colors, some of the colors that we've already got over here. So some of that color will make kind of a middle value. So we got the super light and the super dark. Let's get some sort of in between. Put some of those in there. And if your paint's getting sticky, my paint's getting sticky, I'm just going to add a little water to my brush. My brush is drying out, so just dip it in the water and then it'll work it out. Grab a little bit more white. Put some really bright spots in, like the sun's peeking through the leaves here and there. It's not completely white, but it's definitely brighter than... There we go.
Paulette would like to know, do craft paints last as well as the art acrylics? Meaning, do they withstand fading and so forth?
No, they don't. They don't. They're not as light fast over time. You know, they'll fade quite a bit in the sun, especially. But you know, I do have, as long as they're not in the sun, they should do fine. It's the sun that really makes it. But that's with pretty much any paints. You know, unless it's a really high quality paint, it's gonna fade in the sun. So, all right, that's looking okay. Let's put some of this green back here behind our red tree. Just a little bit of it, just to give it a little, that color back there. Maybe put a little bit of it back here too. Okay. So I want to get the background trees in before I put my foreground trees in, so that we don't have to go around them once we do it. So I'm kind of working back to front with this one. Let me clean that out, and then I'm going to grab my liner brush or a small round brush and some burnt umber. And I got a brand new one from Johanna. She sent me because I left my other one in the water, so she was concerned about, almost ruined. Okay, so I'm going to come right about here maybe and angle some branches out this way. And I've added quite a bit of water to my burnt umber, and that way it'll flow. Anytime you're using a liner brush, always adding water, extra water. It really needs to be almost like a milk consistency. So if you think about how thin that would be, that's how thin you really need your paint in order for it to flow off of your round brush. Do some in this direction, and I'm not going to get too detailed because most of this is going to be covered up, and we really don't need a ton of little tiny branches. So we're just going to put in a few and make sure that if any of this is showing, that you make sure that it is very, it should go from thick to thin. So the thickest part should be down here, and then the tips of the branches should be like that, needs to be thinned out. And I'll just go right off the end there. If you've got an area that's thick here and thin down here, you need to make sure that it's thick all the way even down to here. Okay? Tree Basics 101.
Hey, Mary would like to know, do you ever use matte medium instead of water?
No. No, I don't. Matte medium has a mattifier. It has a, it will dull the color. It has white particles in it. It flattens out the shine of the paint, and so I prefer the glossier look on my paintings, so I don't tend to use the matte. It's great for collage though. Like I use it for if I want to add paper, like, you know, scrap of paper or something like that to the background of a painting or something like that. I've used it for that. But yeah, I don't use it for other stuff like that. You can, I don't think that it would hurt anything. Okay, I'm going to make some more of that gray color with the phthalo blue, a little bit of purple, and burnt sienna, or burnt umber, I mean. Make that dark blue-gray. Going to need a little bit more of that with our rocks and things. So I'm going to go back down here, add a little bit of it along my waterline on this rock, and a little bit in just a few areas to add some really dark areas so that when we put our highlights in, they'll have something to play against. So I'm going to go right along that edge there, make it nice and dark. And let's use a little bit of it over here too. Really dark right there. And I'm going right on top of the water because there's going to be a reflection of the shadow in the water too. So I'm going to want it nice and dark. Okay, let's add some of that dark to the tree here. And then we can grab a little bit of the lighter color and add just a little bit of the unbleached titanium, kind of dry brush it over the top of some of those branches there. Just give it a little bit of highlight. The tree's not completely dry there, so. All right, now we can set those branches back, make them look like they're part of the tree by grabbing our phthalo green. Let's add some yellow oxide to that phthalo green this time. And we'll just dab in over the top in a few places. Cover up parts of those branches. Make them look like they've got other stuff happening and they're part of that background. Okay, then I'm going to grab some white, mix that with it. Same color. And we'll add some white a little bit brighter. Don't cover up too much of your branches, but you do want to kind of make them. So I cover up the ends of them so that they look, you know, most of the time you're not going to see the end of your branch because it's going to have, you know, foliage clustered on the tip of the branch. So right, I'm going to add a little bit of that green down here. That looks pretty good, I think. We can add a little bit more later once we get our other trees in, but I think that that's good for now. Good enough. And let's work on our bridge. This is the fun part. This is my favorite part of this painting, is this bridge, the rocks and stuff. So I'm going to switch to this brush. Let me get my chalk out and just show you kind of our basic, what we're going to do. So we're going to have our arch here. It's got rock. Let me follow. There we go. So about the same distance away from the edge, all the way around that arch there. And then we're going to separate it out with stones that radiate. So if you want to do one in the middle here and one like this, if you want to point to a particular point and do like starburst, so if that helps you know where to point these two, you can point them all to the same spot there. It'll help like that. And then our top is going to have little stones all the way along the top, real close to the edge. And then there's some kind of horizontal ones that you want to do a few lines there. I need to turn this.
Whoa, what kind of artistic trickery did you just do there?
What?
Turned your canvas. How can you get paint and stuff on your hands if you do that?
Okay, there we go. So, whoops, these are angled. We want those straight. You want these horizontal. So don't angle these ones. These ones should be completely horizontal.
Somebody would invent a device to draw straight lines. That would be amazing. So then I just hit my knee.
Yeah, so the table was like, be quiet. All right, burnt sienna, unbleached titanium. I'm going to grab some of that burnt umber. And I'm not over blending. I'm just going to kind of have multiple colors on my brush at one time. So I'm going to kind of pick up a few different colors. I have a little bit of burnt umber on this side, a little bit of burnt sienna and white on that side. Maybe grab a little bit of that gray color through it. That's our background color, and we'll see what this does, and we will probably end up doing multiple colors here. So I'm just gonna lightly, very lightly, start transferring on some color like that, putting in our bridge details. I'm just very lightly. Was that Scooter?
No, that's me ringing the bell.
Oh, okay. I thought Scooter was crying.
He's crying because he's so happy for a donation from Ilda Flores. Oops. And it says, love your tutorials. Thanks, Angela and Mark.
Aw.
Heart emoji.
Like it. Thank you.
Anything to turn the disco lights on.
Yes. It's too bad we can't do disco music too, but the cowbell's good enough. It's a good second choice there. All right, so I'll grab a little bit more gray here, a little bit of the unbleached titanium. Really, you can't do this. I would say you pretty much can use any number of browns, grays, green, even. So I'm just gonna, and really the more kind of variety that you do, probably the better. It'll make it a little bit more authentic if you kind of have some that are more, gray and some that are more brown, because this is natural stone, so they're all a lot of variation in stone. And I'm leaving a little space in between, if you notice, so that I've got some shadow in between my stones automatically. Just leaving a tiny bit of space in between each one of these sections. And just lightly dragging it so that in places some of that background color, whoops, I can't get that close, can I? In places some of that background color is showing through. I meant to turn off my autofocus back on, I forgot. If you do the side cam real quick, I can do it. But
Okay, well, let me go to side cam.
don't know if I can do it and paint at the same time, though. So.
Probably not. Just a long... I'll play the hold music if you want me to. Or hum it, I guess. I think we're okay.
Okay. This is not going to be shown anyway, so it doesn't really matter when you get down there, but anyhow, the point is I've got a little bit of that dark color showing through too. So if you do this light enough, you can kind of see some of that dark blue underneath the layers as well. There we go. Let's do our stones up here. We'll just start here. We're going to kind of pull little stones that come down like that. On the top. So there are a couple brush strokes width, I guess. Like that. I feel like you can't see this very well. I don't know if you can zoom in without it blurring. Mark's not listening at all to what I'm saying.
No, I'm not.
It's okay.
I'm sure it was very fascinating.
I was talking about zooming in.
Oh, okay. I can zoom in.
Zoom in or not, so people can see.
Heck yeah! Side cam and zoom in are my jam.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, I hear it now. I hear it back in the playback.
It was like hinting. I didn't actually tell you to do it. I was just like, "Do you think we need to?" And then you didn't reply. So then I was like, he's not even listening.
Yeah. Have I ever been good at getting the subtle hints? Other than the George Foreman grill?
There wasn't a hint at all.
I nailed that. Yeah.
Okay.
We're shopping one day and you're like, man, I would like one of those.
Like,
Birthday present.
Hey, her birthday's coming up.
Done.
She wants that.
She's going to be so happy.
Oh my gosh. That was awesome. It's funny now. It wasn't at the time. I was like, really? Seriously? Something to cook with.
And I was like a little kid all excited.
For my birthday.
Waiting for you to open it. She's going to be so excited. Yes.
She said she wanted that. Okay, I'm doing these stones like different sizes here, so you can kind of. This is probably a little bit difficult here, just kind of trying to fit in the little stones. It's not that hard though, really. It's just kind of a little bit of patience. And if you go over the top or get too close or whatever, we can go back in with the darker color and fill back in sections. So don't stress out too much if you make a mistake or feel like you got it too dark or something, or too light. Let's just keep on going here, grabbing a little bit of burnt umber, grabbing a little bit of that kind of blue color there. Got the unbleached titanium on my brush as well. I think these stones, I can't really tell in my picture, but I think these stones are different sizes too, so they're not really going in a straight line. Some of them are spanning multiple. Add a little bit of the lighter there. Like that, some of them are filling in multiple spots. All of this is going to be covered up, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Just drawing some color there. Let's do the same thing over here. These ones down low are not going to even be seen, but it's best to pretend that they will be, just so that in case they do show a little bit, then we don't have to try to go back in and fix it. All right. Got that too close there, that's all right. And I'm barely touching down, so you really don't need a lot of pressure on your brush, and really best to just keep it very, very short, choppy little brush strokes. But it's the key is the way you're loading it. You don't want to overblend on your brush. That's the way that you get this kind of effect. It's all about the brush and having all these multiple colors on the brush that are not completely blended. Go to side cam. I want to switch this over so I can.
We got side cam.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Now we can zoom without getting blurry.
Yeah.
Much better. It might go out of focus every now and then trying to focus on my brush, but at least we can get closer shots. So it's kind of a lesser of two evils thing. Right, let's grab a little bit of the. So this is what I'm talking about. See that brush? I don't know if it's letting me focus on the brush. Come on, focus. There we go. See how that brush has got all those colors? It's got like a little bit of brown, gray, a little bit of the burnt sienna in there. And depending on how hard come on, focus. There we go. Depending on how hard I press down, then I might get, any number of those colors on the canvas at any one time. So that's the idea. And every now and then I'm flipping it over too. So I might do a couple blocks with this side and then turn it over and do a couple with this side. And that way I've got, variation to these. Then just swipe through those colors, swipe through, turn it over, swipe through a little bit. Don't overblend, don't even blend at all, just kind of swipe to pick up a little bit of paint. That's the key. There we go. All right, now we can is go back in and add a little bit of some of these other colors in some other spots. So I have kind of that warmer brown here, so I'm going to add a little bit of it in a couple places. Clean my brush out. And I'm going to create kind of a moss color, so I'm going to grab my phthalo green and my yellow oxide. It'll be much more of the yellow oxide color than the green. And then I can add a little bit of the burnt sienna to tone it down. The moss color is kind of neutral. Wipe most of it off my brush. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the unbleached titanium little bit, couple pulls through there to kind of slightly blend them. And then I just don't want to have too much on there, so I'm going to just kind of see how that does. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to add some of this moss. This is where I'm really going to be very careful, just kind of barely touching down. And I'm even going to turn my brush a little bit so that just the corner of it's touching instead of the full face of it. Add some of this moss to a few of our rocks. It doesn't have to be all of them, but see. Kind of grows in those cracks too, so we can get them kind of close to the edges, maybe on a few of them. Okay, I'm doing too many of them. Don't want to do all of them. That's a tendency. You kind of get going and you're like, oh, this is fun. Let's do all of them, and then end up with a green bridge. So we don't. Pull back. Let me grab some of my dark color here. I'm going to add a little bit of that green to the dark color. And maybe we'll put a little bit of this color underneath our bridge slightly. So we'll just do a few like little pulls across under the bridge. Keep it really dark. So we don't want it. A little bit of that green might give it a little depth there.
Okay, we got a question.
Yep.
I'm not going to attempt the names. I'm sorry.
Okay.
They want to know. They said that their pictures are sticky after they're done.
Okay.
So what can they do about that?
Varnish it.
Varnish it?
Yes. And you really need to varnish anyways because acrylics do dry sticky. So, and I've heard people say to use Mod Podge to varnish, but Mod Podge dries sticky too. So you don't really, it's not a varnish. You really need an acrylic varnish. And I like to use the Liquitex. I'm using this. I got a little bit of the green and I used a little bit of that gray color that I'd mixed. And I'm going to kind of go in between and kind of clean up some of these, darken up some of the separations, clean up a little bit if I got a little too close. You don't have to do it everywhere, but you know, just if you see some areas that got a little too close together, you can't tell they're separate, just kind of go tap in there. A little bit of this. But yeah, I like that's why acrylics, that's normal. Acrylics are just tacky and they will collect dust. So if you don't varnish them, they will eventually, dust will stick to the surface and be really hard to get off. So really always if you're going to be keeping your painting, you want to varnish it.
Stephanie wants to know about how long should you wait before you varnish your painting?
You should wait at least a couple of days, depending on how thick your paint is. If you're using very thick paint for like an impasto type painting where you're using a palette knife or something, you really should wait at least like a week or two for that paint to cure. But it'll take it at least like 24 hours to 48 hours for your paint to cure. Acrylics. Even though they're dry to the touch, they're not cured completely. It takes them a while for the hardening to finish and all of the moisture to be evaporated out of the paint. So, all right, just adding a little bit of shading. Now I can go through and kind of maybe darken up the corners of a few of these if we want to really get fancy, and we can go through and let me do this. Let me grab a little bit of burnt umber and some water and create a wash, very thin, watery. Make sure that our background is dry. here, and then I can wash in some shadows on the edges of some of these to give them a little bit more depth. I didn't do this on my original, but this is a good idea to do. It gives it a really cool finish, and you can change the tone of your painting. So, you know, if I wanted my bridge to be more gray than brown, I could add, let's do some of this blue-gray color and add that. You can see how it'll change the tone of the bricks to kind of that more gray wherever we do that. Kind of just rounds out your shapes. And then to finish, I'm going to grab a little bit of the unbleached titanium all on its own and just lightly drag through and highlight a few of the stones. And make sure that you kind of dry brush it so that it has some texture. And I'm keeping the highlights kind of right in the middle of the blocks where they might be sticking out the most. Kind of changed up my angle so they're not all same matchy-matchy. Some are a little bit different than others. I'm going to put this area up here is very bright, so I'm going to put some bright highlights along the top edge of my bridge. Real bright up there. All right, I'm calling that good. Isn't that cool? Just a few little, it's not hard, really. You should try it. It's actually really fun. All right.
Again, your definition of fun is
it's not yours.
Questionable. But
Questionable. Okay.
playing video games.
Turquoise here. What?
Playing video games. That's fun. Highlighting stones.
This is very fun.
Okay.
This is very fun. So I made the green and phthalo blue turquoise with adding a little bit of the burnt sienna and a little bit of white over here. I'm gonna grab a little bit more of that green. I feel like I want a little bit more green. There we go. I'm going to kind of use that turquoise color and put that a little bit on some of these stones too. I'm noticing there's some turquoise in some of them. Maybe the water reflected is reflecting back up on some of the lighter parts of the stone. I don't know. But there's some of this turquoisey color in there too. And then we'll use this down in the water. So I'm going to go over the top of that dark shadow in some places, adding, keep these kind of horizontal here if you can. And just add some of this lighter turquoisey color into our water. We'll add other colors too, but this is just kind of our first sort of highlight layer in the water. There we go. What time is it? 2:50. An hour and 15 so far. Not too
It's
bad.
painting time.
Not too bad. Just wasn't sure how long this was going to take today, so it's not too bad. I'm going to grab some of that green and use it down in the water over here. You're seeing some of the reflections from this green down here in the water. I'm going to put a little bit of that in right there. And then over here, we're going to have a nice bright, now that we've got our bridge in, we can put our bushes in. So I'm going to grab some yellow and green, mix those two together. This bush back here is almost a neon green. I don't know what kind of plant it was, but in my picture it's very, very bright. So I'm going to use this really bright color. I've got the dark behind it, but I am going to create a darker version, so I'm going to maybe grab a little bit of purple and mix that with my phthalo green there, so I have a dark version and then a light. I'm going to put in the dark first, so I'm going to just tap in some random little brush strokes and go all the way across, create our bush right here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it up, even though it kind of stays low in my picture. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. And then I'm going to grab my light color. And I really haven't cleaned out my brush, so it's got the darker in there still. And I'm going to go right over the top, add that lighter color. Leave some of this darker in between, so just maybe use the tip edge of the brush sometimes. That corner can create some cool shapes. You don't always have to use the flat edge. Okay, there we go.
So to kind of, I don't know, not be clear, but let people know, they can add as much or little as they want to. You know, some people were saying they love the bridge without the extra bushes in front.
Yeah.
And so you'll make your painting your own.
Absolutely.
You don't have to, like Angela said, make it look exactly like hers, but she's teaching you the techniques.
Yeah, I'm just showing you what I did, and you can do your version of it.
Right.
Whatever floats your boat.
And if you're watching live and you're not in chat, you might want to join chat now. You can get some laundry folding tips. So Angela's giving me the painting tips, and people in chat are doing laundry folding tips. So.
I always love to know what they're talking about. It's always something so random. It's awesome. Okay. I love that they're not paying at all attention to what I'm doing. They love it. That's great. Hey, I don't care. Okay, so to do the reflections of the water, I'm not trying to duplicate it exactly. I'm just trying to kind of create some little short horizontal choppy brush strokes that sort of mimic what's going on up here. But you can see that they're really broken up compared to up there. So, and then we can always go back through and kind of blend that out a little bit if we want to, but that's going to be that side. And let's move over here. And actually, I'm going to put a little bit of bushes over here in between these two right here. There's a little bit of green that comes in right here on this rock. Let's go ahead and put in this rock too. This rock is the same color as our bridges, are pretty close too. So let's do that while I'm thinking about it before we forget and these colors are all dried up. So grab that gray color down here that we mixed up, right? That was burnt umber, burnt sienna, or I'm sorry, burnt umber, phthalo blue, and purple. And then I'm going to grab some of that unbleached titanium. And I'm going to set my brush down almost flat. see how much of an angle. Why don't you do the side cam real quick and they can see how much of an angle I've got here on it. So it's almost flat. It's about as flat as I can get without laying my hand down. And I'm going to very lightly just skim it along the top. And then I'm going to pull down. So I'm kind of skimming it sideways and then sort of pulling down a little bit. Skim it sideways and pull down. Let me get a little bit more of that light color. Okay, you can go to the top for view now. I just wanted them to see that side angle there. So skim it sideways a little ways and then kind of angle it down. Leave some dark areas in between so it looks like there's some shadows in our rocks. Some layers of rock. Let's do one here. Angle, pull down. Get a little bit more of the unbleached titanium. Sideways, pull down. Okay. Okay. Barely touching it. Now I'm going to put a little bit in the water, so I have to kind of look up there and see where these light parts are. Maybe put some of those in down in here. I need some of that dark color down in the water. So I need to get that original rock color and kind of put some of that down in here too. That was kind of gray. It was that blue with a little bit more of the, it's this dark color with a little bit of the unbleached titanium in it, so it's kind of medium value. Need a little bit of both. Leave a little bit of the blue. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as the rock, but I'm just kind of laying in a little bit of those colors. Now I'm going to go back in with the light and kind of come here. There's a really bright one right here. There's a little bit bright here. There's kind of bright like that. There's a little bit of bright right here. Maybe right in here. Okay, that's good enough. See that? Okay, let's also, we're going to have a little bit of this gray color from the bridge itself, right? So we need to see some of that in the water as well. So let's grab some of that stone color. We'll add a little bit of it. Most of it is getting covered by this bush though, so you're not seeing really any of this. But you might see a little bit of it right up in here. So we'll put a little bit of this color up here, a little bit down there, just a tiny bit. Okay, we'll go over here. Let's do this side. Need to mix up some more of that gray. A little bit of blue, a little bit of purple, a little bit of brown. Grab a little bit of the unbleached titanium. That's very blue, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the brown.
Do you have a specific light source direction in your painting?
The light source is coming from this side, yeah, so it's pointing that way. But this picture was pretty much, I think, full sun, you know, middle of the day. There wasn't a whole lot of shadow in the trees or anything, but it definitely was kind of in this angle, just like that, I think. So I'm going to put a little bit of rocks down in here, back here. in the water. Grab some of that. Kind of just mimicking what I just did over there. Just, oops, I was off camera there. I wasn't?
I was watching, you were not.
Okay.
I don't think.
I think I was right over here in this corner.
Kind of on the edge-ish.
Okay, there we go. Don't know if we needed that, but it just makes me feel better. I'm going to add a little bit of this color back in here. And I'm going to use the edge of my brush, just kind of create some grasses. And then I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So we're going to switch to the, where is it? A round that I've left in the water. Sorry. I noticed watching the replay that little, whenever I ding that metal part against the glass, it's pretty loud. I might have to get a plastic bowl so it's not so loud. It's pretty loud. All right, so let's grab the phthalo green, some yellow oxide. That'll be good. I have both in my brush here. I'm going to add a little water to it to make it a little easier to maneuver, and we'll add some grasses. Don't worry about covering up that brown. We're pretty much going to cover it all up, so don't try to leave any of that showing. It's just going to really, I think I want, I don't like this brush doing. And I'll get the darker colors down, and I might switch the brush when I get to the lighter colors. I used my fan brush when I did mine, but that was before I changed the look of the rest of the painting, so might not want to do that with this one. Add some white. And add random brush strokes in my grasses. The main thing is to kind of really overlap them well, so that these ones are going to kind of curve this way out over the water. I probably need darker so you can see them. And then when we get real close, let's grab some unbleached titanium. Down here, there's a lot of like white, very, very light grasses close to the short line. So we'll just kind of tap in some little dots and random short brush strokes. Right there, and then we'll do some in the water. We gotta do the water. So everywhere that we did these colors, we gotta do it down in the water. So grab those grass colors and we'll put those colors down in here. And instead of doing long brush strokes this time, I'm going to do like a little tapping, shorter choppy brush strokes. Same colors, but we don't want them to be completely visible all the way down.
Mary would like to know, what's the best way to have grass look random?
Lots of overlapping and change of direction. So the sameness factor happens when you repeat brush strokes and repeat them in the same direction and the same width and height. So do some thicker, some thinner, some changing directions, some at different heights. That's a way to kind of get them to look more random. Let's add a little bit of yellow to that green. And more of the unbleached titanium. I'll add some of this yellow, brighter yellow. There we go. So see a couple down here, move up, a couple up there, down, back down, up, this way, that way, different random heights. See? And then your eye doesn't know what to focus on. That's kind of the idea, is just kind of creating indications without repeat patterns. The pattern is your nemesis when it comes to nature painting. Natural. There's patterns will make it look fake real fast. Okay, so let's add some of this light color up here in our bushes. Oops, off camera. Okay. And then every now and then you want one or two that are really well defined. So that will draw your eye and make it, create a really strong focal point. So every now and then I'll go back in and then kind of add some of these really bright ones so that there we go. Let's add some white. This is going to be the hardest part. Once we get this part done, the rest of these trees are going to go super fast. So we're just kind of laying in our details here, but we're almost done. 30-minute warning. So I'm going to tap in with some white, creating little flower indications. It's actually kind of like the stalks of this grass, I think. Those little white tips on the grass. A few of these in the water. See that? So pretty. I like it.
Oui.
I like it.
C'est joli.
Mr. Frenchy. Mark's learning French. He works for a French company, so they speak Franglish there, right?
That is correct.
So he's hoping to kind of bridge that gap. He can speak.
Nice pun there for the painting.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, I've got white that's kind of watered down here. You can use zinc white if you have it instead. It'll actually kind of probably do a better job than this, but we'll add a little bit of white highlights on the water. Just very light. And whoops, maybe not that. There we go. Doing it over the top of our reflections will help us kind of set those back and make them look like part of the water. So there we go. Looking good. I think we can zoom out, and I didn't do a highlight on this rock here, so let's do that. Get some of that gray, a little bit of the white on our brush. Unbleached titanium, I should say, not white. Sideways and down. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go back to this number 4. It seemed like it was working pretty well for me. And let's put in our trees. Woohoo! Excited, huh? You ready for this?
Woo! Yes!
You've been waiting all afternoon for this part.
With the fist pump, too.
I should have done this tree before I did my grasses, but I think I can tuck it in there.
I'd run over and give you a high five, but...
Yeah, you can't reach me from where you're sitting. Okay, so right there in front, just going to tuck that into the grasses, and like I said, if you do it first, it's probably a better idea than to try to do it afterwards. Let's do one kind of branch coming up this way. Maybe one low. Right here. What are you laughing at? People talking about your excitement.
People are wondering what the heck is going on.
They heard you yell and they weren't listening.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit of purple here just to kind of darken it up. Since we don't have black, we're using purple instead to darken up our shadow areas. Let's do some branches coming from... So the tree, this tree is actually kind of coming from like right here up. And over. We'll probably end up having to put some of these branches back in, but we'll start with some branches and then we can add them back in if we cover too much of them up. It'll just give us an area to shoot for. Okay. I definitely think it helped to have this part. My bridge is a little bit different shaped. It's a lot more narrow up here somehow, but that's all right. It actually looks more like my picture, this one does, than this one. But I think I definitely like the letter behind. I think it kind of, I don't know, creates a little bit more depth there with the... I'm going to add water to this and just kind of take all that chalk off of there. Yeah, now I kind of wish I'd done my bridge a little bit bigger. Oh well. You can do yours bigger than mine. Alright, so this tree over here is a little bit more on the orange side, so I'm going to grab some of my cadmium red medium and do some of that. Just a few random brush strokes. Change the direction. Tap, tap, tap. Turn, tap, tap, tap. Okay. Do some on this side. Oh, and then I've got my yellow tree in here too. I need to do that too. Alright, so a little bit of that there. Let's grab some yellow oxide and a little bit of burnt sienna. Make a background color for our yellow tree that's going to go right in here. So the yellow one's going to go a little bit lower and farther back. And this red one's going to be up on top. Okay, and let's grab some yellow. Blend that in with that a little bit, and then put a few little yellow while we've got that on my brush. It's blending with the reds and the shadow colors, but that's all right. We can give it a stem, or a, not a stem, a branch, I guess. Give our yellow tree some limbs. There we go. Let's put a little highlight on this tree trunk over here. Burnt umber and unbleached titanium. Just give it a little bit of a highlight. Hope it kind of stand out against those grasses there. Let's do a little bit on this side too. Okay. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I feel like we can, yeah, get a better overall view now. We're doing bigger sections. All right, so, and I think I used quinacridone, magenta, and a little bit of white, and some of this cadmium red light. Makes this kind of salmony pink color. Ooh, that's pretty. Gosh, colors are so fun. I just love this. I have the funnest job ever. It's like magic. Okay, sorry. Thinking out loud. This is my favorite part of the painting, is when we get to do like the last little bits and it starts to come together, and then your brain's finally going, oh, okay, that's right. You know, because up until this point, your brain's going to be fighting you and saying, you know, I say your brain, but it really is kind of your, I put those two, I don't want them to go all the way down like that. Shush. Half a painting for me is the mental part of it, though, you know, because you really do have to kind of fight those thoughts in your head that you're not doing something right, you know. It's part of the process, happens to every one of us, and, you know, part of it is just kind of working through those thoughts and ignoring them, you know, those thoughts that I'm not doing this right, this looks terrible, blah, 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 you know, because halfway through a painting, every painting goes through ugly stages. And really, up until this point, this wasn't looking all that hot. Those trees did not look good. But now we're making them, you know, make sense. This is the part where it gets fun, because we can kind of see all of this groundwork that we've done is starting to pay off. So this tree, I want a little bit more on the magenta side, so I'm going to grab some of that quinacridone magenta and mix a little tiny bit of purple with it. Let's get, my paints are starting to get dry. That's pretty. Let's put some of that color in here. It's going to give us a nice dark, deep color. Don't want to use too much of that because it'll overwhelm it. So tap that off, wipe that off, grab some straight quinacridone, if I can get some clean color, put in some of that. And I put the other color over here, but now I'm going to really kind of work on giving this a little bit different color story. So I'm going to add other colors that I didn't add over here. So there. Let's add a little tiny bit of that quinacridone magenta over here. Just a little bit. A couple places. We'll add a little bit of cadmium red to that purple color. That one that we mixed with the quinacridone magenta. We'll mix that, put some of that out. Really now I need to start kind of thinking about where my shadows are on this tree. Kind of creating a shape out of it. And maybe put a little tiny bit of this color over here. A little bit more of the orange. Orangey, I say orange, but it's the cadmium red light. I'm going to add the white to it, and I still have these pinks and everything in my brush, so it's not straight cadmium red light. And I'm going to go in with some really bright, I need it even brighter than that. Really bright sections of this tree. Now, think about where the light might be hitting it. Just put in a few little dots. Okay. Put a few of those up here too. Grab a little bit of pink. The magenta there, and do some pink highlights on this one. I'm getting too many. I really want to cluster them. I'm kind of spreading them out too much. I really need to have them in little burst clusters. That way it'll look like little sections of the tree are highlighted and little other areas are in shadow. So kind of cluster your highlights a little bit. That'll be better. See? Okay. Grab the cadmium red and quinacridone magenta together. Makes a really bright cherry red. It's close to naphthol crimson, so if you have naphthol crimson, you could use that instead if you don't want to have to mix it. But go in there and add a little bit of that. We're just adding all these colors. Still want to leave a little bit of this green peeking through though, so I'm not covering up completely. You do want some of your other colors happening, and every now and then I want to put out like a random one just kind of out on its own. Grab some of those lighter colors, mix those through, add a little bit of the lighter down here. Okay. Clean that up. And grab some cadmium orange and a little bit of my cadmium yellow. Make kind of a bright orange yellow color. We'll add some of that to my tree here. add some to the water because we've got some of this will be showing up in the water right there. So just a few little bits. Add some white and yellow, really bright. Down in the water. A little bit of that color. That might have been a little bit too bright. There we go. All right. And it's actually probably going to show up back here too because that tree is pretty tall. So we might see a little bit of it back here too. Oops. Okay. Let's put some of our red down here. In the water. And we'll have some red over here. A lot of this is actually going to be quite red. There. Just blotting it to tone down the color a little bit. I'm going to probably have to work on that a little bit. Let me grab some of that salmon color. That light salmon color. We'll add that to that water over here. Just kind of add some horizontal brush strokes, kind of tone down that area, add a little bit of it to the water so that it looks sort of tinted. Actually, there we go. I'm going to grab a little bit of my turquoise color here. I still have a little bit there. I'm going to tap over my highlights with that in the water. That'll set our highlights back. Make them look like they're part of that water a little bit more. Burnt sienna, phthalo blue, and phthalo green. Some of our darker color in there.
You know what that means?
Super chat.
Super chat, yes, from Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
I think. Hold on. It's Jim Don Pass, yes. Said another beauty, Angela. Thank you as always to both you and Mark for your hard work and wonderful teachings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really glad you like this one. This is... I've actually had this photograph saved for quite a while. Wanting to do this. I just really love the look of this bridge and the autumn trees. Just adding a little bit of white, the lighter color. Maybe a little too much there. There we go. All right, now we get to add our purple. purpley bush down here in the corner. And we're about done. So purple and phthalo blue creates this lovely color. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of quinacridone magenta to make it a little bit more of a violet. There we go. And that's going to span this whole area here. I'm not going to actually go quite as high as I did on my example painting. I brought it up a little bit high. I think I want a little bit of that tree trunk showing there, so I'm going to keep it lower. And create a shape that kind of comes out like that. Then our white. Mix that, kind of make a medium color. Tap some of that in. Leave some of that darker so that we've got the dark shadows happening. And then grab a little bit of the quinacridone magenta and more white. Do some sort of pink colored. Okay, create clusters of highlights along the top sections of our bush there. And then I want some blue as well, so I'm going to add a little bit of blue highlights with my phthalo blue and white. Just grab all of that white over here. Make a nice bright blue violet. It is clumping up on my brush. Something awful, but that's alright. It's because my paint's getting dry. And I'm going to add a little bit of this color.
Some Maya.
And then I want to add some up here in my sky. So I'm going to add a little bit of this violet color up here in a few places. Go ahead.
So Maya says if they don't have magenta, will red work?
It won't create these vibrant colors. The magenta is just a color that really can't be mixed. It's super pigmented, very bright. So you can. I mean, you don't have to. It won't have the pink quality. It'll look, a little bit more. Trying to think of what red you would use. You would. The cadmium red has a lot of oranginess in it naturally, so adding a little bit of this violet color in the water, just a little bit. I'm trying to think what would work if I can think of a red that's would help mix. Because if you mixed cadmium red with phthalo blue, it does not make purple really. It makes kind of a dull color because the blue and orange are opposite on the color wheel. So when you mix an orangey red with the blue, it doesn't make a vibrant color. It makes a little bit more dull color because the colors kind of cancel each other out when they're opposite on the color wheel. So you need a much more purpley red to get the bright purpley color. But you could just do a red orange tree or, orange tree instead. Like do this one orange and do this one red or, vice versa. Something like that. You don't have to do the same colors that I'm doing to get a good result. So I would use what you've got and just kind of adapt them as much as you can. So I'm going to use a little bit more of the cad red here. The bright cadmium red, and just kind of go in here now and sort of define some of these shapes. cover over a little bit of that blue if I need to. And connect some of these that are sticking out there. I think we're almost done. We're almost there. Yeah, I think that's good. All right, I'm going to call that good. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm not really seeing anything that I want to change, so I'm going to sign it, and we'll set it down here.
Bring us to there.
Oh, yeah, okay, so I'm going to put a finger width up here so that I have plenty of room in case I frame this. So it's going to look weird because it's going to be sort of in the middle, but you'll be glad you did that if you ever frame it. So about a finger width here and a finger width here when you sign it. At least on this kind. If you used a canvas that had, you know, gallery wrapped and you're not planning on framing it, but you really need about 1/4 inch on a frame. So, and where is Stickman? I don't know where he is. He's over there. I can't reach him. Thank you. All right, we'll grab Stickman, do him really quick.
Everybody in chat said they wanted a bridge.
Okay. Are you joking?
No,
okay.
Seriously. They were like,
all
okay,
right.
let's vote. Do we want a tree or a bridge? And it was like bridge by a landslide.
Okay. All right, well, we'll do a bridge. I guess we'll do a bridge right here over the water, right? He's getting a bridge right there. Mark is responsible for Stickman. We add something to him just for fun every show, depending on whatever our theme of the day is. So we'll give him some.
And you can click in the iCards in the upper right-hand corner.
That's right.
With a link to shirts and mugs and things like that. And
he's
you
got
can
his
get
own shirts
Stickman
now.
on a shirt.
Yep.
Coffee mug, sticker.
And the Stickman says, this shirt says, is a quote from Mark's tutorial on Stickman, because somebody asked if there was a traceable, and he said, no, if you need a traceable, let's face it, art might not be your thing. So that's what's on the Stickman shirt. There we go. He's got himself a bridge. I don't know where that bridge goes to, and it doesn't really make any sense, but it's there. It's about the only place I could fit him. There's no place to walk on it. It's okay.
Just going into the water.
Yep, he's going in. Here, we'll give it a shadow underneath to make it really fancy.
Whoa.
There we go. Now it makes more sense.
That made it pop.
Yeah, he's going right down into the water. It's just leading right in. Well, maybe. I don't know. Who knows what happened there, but he's almost full.
Yep.
We're going to have to come up with another Stickman soon. We'll maybe have to do some stuff up in the sky next time.
Go to Stickman 4.0.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So there's our finished painting. Hope you try this. It's a lot of fun bringing it to you. I appreciate you watching today. We, as always, okay, I'm seeing something I want to do really quick.
And for those of you who are watching the first time, this is normal. When Angela says she's done, she's not done.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to put a little bit of yellow up there just to bring that yellow back over to this side because it needed it. Okay, a little bit of yellow right there. Boom, done. It needed it. Just trust me. It's a thing. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks. We'll see you Tuesday. We're going to be painting a white barn. So it should be fun. I'm going to use palette knife, so it'll be nice and easy. And a lot of scraping.
So remember, don't bring a brush to a knife painting.
That's right. Yes. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.